The Eagles have clinched a playoff spot. 9 wins in a row, 11-2. Why is everybody so angry? Let's talk about it next on the PHLY Eagles podcast with Zach Berman sidling up next to me. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Monday afternoon. Bo Wolf, Zach Berman in studio, and you know that we're presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Zach, the Eagles are going to the playoffs.
They are. Since we last spoke, so since after the game, the Eagles clinched with a combination of losses in that afternoon slate. So the Eagles are in. We expected them to be in. This isn't a surprise, but
they're just getting into the playoffs.
They officially punched their ticket to the postseason. And this means 4 consecutive years for Nick Sirianni to make the playoffs. That hasn't happened since Andy Reid from 2000 to 2004, that 5-year run. So we understand here on the show and those watching that the expectations for this team are not merely getting into the playoffs, but there are a lot of fan bases, including those in our ALLCITY family, who would punch through walls to get 4 or 5 playoff appearances, or to get 4 consecutive playoff appearances, rather.
Sure, and we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the A.J. Brown situation. We're going to talk a little bit about Jalen Hurts in the passing game, but I do want to leave the bulk of the Jalen Hurts conversation for tomorrow's show when Frank can take us through the actual film and tell us what might have been misses there. We got to talk about Nick Sirianni, the defense, and some of this stuff. And also at the end of the show, Zach, you got a special treat for us.
I do. There's nothing I enjoy doing more than saying thank you. So I got a lot of thank yous coming up.
All right. Well, we look forward to that. But this defiance about how could you be upset? How dare you come on the post-game show and not be thrilled about the Eagles winning their 9th game in a row? Every team has bad games. First of all, you know, it's your life. You deserve to have high standards. Okay? Like, don't just accept.
Don't talk down to the audience.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. But here's the thing. Zach, you came on the show and told us what the mood was like in the post-game locker room. They reacted as if it was a loss. And I think that that's okay because the stakes of this season, the Eagles have established themselves as a Super Bowl contender. And I don't even necessarily buy the angle that, well, like this passing game, they could never win the Super Bowl with this passing game. I don't know that that's true. It's possible that they could just get advantageous matchups and run over teams, and the defense will shut teams down, and it'll be a different kind of Super Bowl run than we've seen. But that passing game yesterday was not good enough.
Yeah.
And for lots of the reasons that A.J. Brown was hinting at, and we're going to get into some of those numbers specifically with A.J. Brown. But I don't think that you are wrong to be frustrated with the performance they had yesterday, taking aside the fact that it's one of 17 games. Every team's allowed to not play their best every week.
Yeah, this won't surprise you. I think it's nuanced, right? There's an expression you wouldn't be surprised to know that I tell my son, which is pressure is a privilege, right? And the Eagles earned. I said this on the show, and I stand by it. The Eagles earned this dissatisfaction. The Eagles earned to be in a position where simply beating the Panthers in a game that was tighter than certainly Vegas thought it was going to be, and that they did not play their A game, and they almost lost. That is not satisfactory. That is not the standard. And when you're at the point they are, where you're 11-2, and you've won 9 consecutive games. And as you mentioned at the top of the show, or as you mentioned on yesterday's show, they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. The conversation that you have is not just what it takes to beat the Panthers; it's what it takes to beat the Lions on January 25th. Is what it takes to beat the Chiefs in February. And in order to do that, you're going to need to play better than they did Sunday. And that's okay to say, while also saying you're happier to do that in a win than in a loss. I by nature of this job, I don't get to watch as much NFL as someone who's at home all the time on Sunday. But the Chiefs are on national TV a lot. And whenever I catch a Chiefs game, they're winning these narrow games at the end, right? And so it is true that if you win and you're not playing your best ball, that's okay, because you think that there is another gear to hit come late December, come January. And that's kind of the sentiment in the locker room. I wouldn't say it was a locker room that felt like a loss. I would say it's a locker room that was not pleased, was certainly not jumping up and down and defiant and saying, hey, we won this game. And frankly, I thought that was a good thing, because the term I used in promoting my article from yesterday was self-aware. I thought it was a self-aware locker room. I would actually find it to be more of a concern if the Eagles had fewer than 100 net yards passing, barely topped 100 yards passing for Jalen Hurts, and they came in there and like, everything's fine, right? We won. No, because to me that would raise alarm bells, which is saying
that's right.
You're delusional. I think it's a good thing that this is a locker room that says a win's a win, but they didn't play to their standard.
Now, listen, there are reasons to say clear-eyed that the offensive performance yesterday was maybe not quite as bad as it looked live, just because they only had 8 possessions in the game. They scored touchdowns on 3 of them, right? The Panthers held the ball for a long time, so on a per drive basis, this was not one of their worst performances of the season. But I also think, how short is the collective memory of the Eagles fan base that can't remember last year when they were scraping by with these wins that were concerning and just brushing it aside as this team just knows how to win. Now, this is not like that, because this is probably, of their 11 wins this season, like this game and the Cleveland game are probably the only ones where it's like, that really wasn't that great of a performance. All the other wins, they should be proud of. They should have their chests puffed out about. So it's okay to treat this one as hopefully an outlier, but there are reasons to be concerned about what was an outlier in this game. And obviously we're going to get to the passing game, because that is the main concern with the team right now.
Yeah, and I see the comment in there, ZB, was the locker room vibe reminiscent of last year. And no, I don't think so, because last year I thought it was a team that wasn't finding joy in winning, but also was defiant about the way they were playing, because there was that, I think you used a phrase, their thought was they know how to win, right? And when push came to shove, they didn't know how to win. There were problems that were festering that came through. And the reality is they had too many wins.
Festering is a great word.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They had too many wins last year that were like yesterday.
Yes.
They had too many wins last year where they narrowly beat a team that we thought they were clearly better than, and then that caught up to them later in the year. That's actually been the opposite this year. The Eagles ran away against the Ravens. They ran away against the Rams, who beat the Bills last night. They beat the Packers week 1. I saw a comment in there that said it was like selective. That I was careful in saying the Lions and the Chiefs. I said the Lions and the Chiefs because the Lions are the 1 seed, so they're favored to be. Then the Chiefs are the 1 seed in the AFC. But yeah, I do think the Eagles would need to play better to beat the Bills, to beat the Ravens, to beat the Packers again. When the Eagles played the Packers, their pass game was better than it's been in recent weeks. So I look at this as saying the sky's not falling. This was not a locker room that I thought was. I didn't think there was like a revolt coming or anything like that. I also think that, and we'll get to A.J. Brown, but I don't think A.J. Brown's comments should be misconstrued as like diva-ish or anything like that. I think I like competitive players. He's a competitive player. I spoke to someone recently about Jalen Carter at the end of the Saints game, and what the person was saying to me was, was like, yeah, that's not a problem at all. You want guys who give a beep. You know, you don't have to coach that up. And AJ Brown's someone who gives a beep. AJ Brown's had games this year where he wasn't targeted, and his reaction wasn't what it was yesterday because the Eagles played better overall. His reaction was what it was yesterday because the Eagles didn't play well, and there were opportunities for AJ Brown. There were opportunities for DeVonta Smith. And so I think that I use the term nuance because you're able to be self-aware and mature about this. And Nick's post-game comments, which was don't be a prisoner of your own expectations. And Nick has to tell them that because Nick saw what the players saw, what you and I saw, and I imagine what those watching and listening right now saw, which is the Eagles did not play well enough to win when it's going to matter. They played well enough to win that game, and I know every week's a season, but I go back to the original statement that pressure is a privilege, and they have pressure on them because the expectations are rightfully a team that can and should make it deep into the postseason.
It does sort of seem to set up this situation where now with 4 games left in the season, they're probably not going to be the 1 seed, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like the stakes of these last 4 games are, can they get the passing game going, right? Can they get the passing game ready for the playoffs? It's not even about go chase the 1 seed. I mean, there is a path there. And you know, if the Lions lose this week to the Bills, then maybe it opens up a little bit more. But it does feel like that is pretty much all our focus is going to be over these next 4 weeks.
Yeah, and mind you, perspective is a valuable thing here. I can point you to stories from December 2017 when the Eagles were legitimately struggling down the stretch. I mean, they beat the Raiders, but they did not play well. And going into the postseason, that's a team that needed to get things right, especially with their passing game. And they were able to do that, and then they go on and they win in a big way against Minnesota, in a big way, obviously, against New England in the Super Bowl. And so I don't want to say you can just flip a switch. We saw last year you can't just flip a switch, but if you're looking for reasons for optimism in the passing game, it's the people that they have in there. It's that they have A.J. Brown, they have DeVonta Smith. And the term I keep using for that is that receiver combination is the envy of the league, of a lot of teams in the league. Jalen Hurts needs to play better getting them the ball. You know, I wrote these numbers on allphly.com in today's story. A.J. Brown, I said this yesterday, A.J. Brown was only targeted twice going into the fourth quarter. That's the fewest of any game he's been healthy in his Eagles career. Combined, DeVonta Smith and A.J. Brown finished the game with 10 targets. There were 18 players in the NFL going into the Chiefs game last night. There might have been a Chiefs-Chargers player who was above this too. 18 players alone who had that many targets, that volume of targets. And then I also want to respond to this because when
I also liked your note in the story that 3 out of the last 5 opening drives, A.J. Brown hasn't had a target.
Exactly. Yep. And that speaks to the way they're starting games. And I think sometimes you have to look kind of deeper into the statistics because it was pointed out, well, Jalen didn't have that many pass attempts. No, but he had 26 dropbacks, right? And so sometimes pass attempts don't tell the whole story. Dropbacks do. And there were times when he either scrambled or there was a sack when it could have been pass attempts to A.J. Brown or DeVonta Smith. And I'm gonna put both of them together because I think they need to be targeted more than they have. And I was just on the ALLCITY NFL show. Make sure you check that out with Adam Hogue and Bo Brack. And they asked me how to fix this passing game. And to me, the way to fix this passing game is to throw the ball to A.J. Brown and throw the ball to DeVonta Smith because good things tend to happen when they get the ball.
Well, let's get into that. Although before we do, Shay has a good question. He says he really likes that 2017 Eagles team. Is there anywhere he can read about it?
Yeah, well, you can read about it in 2 books, actually. You can read about it in Underdogs, the Philadelphia Eagles' emotional road to Super Bowl victory, and the franchise, Philadelphia Eagles, a curated history on the Birds. Both the latter one has a chapter on 2017, and the former one has the entire book is about 2017.
All right, so A.J. Brown, you were in the scrum yesterday.
Yeah, a little far back, and I worked my way through.
You worked your way up.
Yep.
What did you make of where his anger was directed? Or maybe anger is even too strong, frustration. And I think there is a bit of a Nick Sirianni angle here, which is how great are the vibes if this is the kind of reaction you're getting after your 9th straight win.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, they just won their 9th game in a row, and everybody's angry in the locker room. Like if you're the cheap fives officer.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think that's why Nick chose the words he did in his post-game speech. And that wasn't just Nick saying it in the post-game press conference. We saw the video that the team put out. I mean, I think Nick was deliberate there because I do think one thing Nick's really trying to enforce, and I asked him this on the record on Friday, was about joy in finding joy in winning. And Nick said there has to be joy in the process because everything's like work. That's kind of their message. They're going to practice more. EJ Smith had a good story in Sunday's Inquirer about that. But I do think that Nick probably saw the way the team was reacting to that game yesterday and wanted to push the joy button a little more. Again, I think it's a good thing because I think it's mature. I think it's like if we had a bad show and I walked off,
never happened.
It's happened for me at least. Maybe not for you. I've had bad shows, and I walked off and I walked in here and I was in a good mood about it. Like that to me, that's when you and Julia and Vince and everyone here should be concerned because it means like.
Wait a second. I thought your whole thing was always being in a good mood. You gotta be the thermostat, not the thermometer.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be mad at you. I'd be frustrated myself. Like I need to be better. And we've had shows where I say once we get off, that was not my best performance. I'll be better tomorrow, right? Have I not, Joy? Have I?
Yeah, you have, but I think you're wrong.
What's that? So I like it, frankly, when I would be more concerned if that was a delusional team. If that was a team that's like everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Nothing to worry about. The negative Philly media. This is such a tough place to play. We just won. Everyone, you know how many teams would kill to be 11-2? Because I don't think that's the right approach here. I think to a man, they all said it's good to win, right? Lane Johnson said it. It's hard to win. You like this happening in a win. Jordan Mailata said, it's not like someone died in here, but he said the only good thing he can say about the way the offense played was Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts scrambles. So I think I like when a team is honest and realistic because I think the problem comes when you're delusional. And,
all right, let's talk about if A.J. Brown is getting the ball enough. Okay?
No.
Because, over the course of the season.
Not noted the conversation. No,
I understand.
Okay.
Over the course of the season, A.J. Brown is 3rd in the league in yards per route run, just behind Puka Nacua and Nico Collins. He is 16th in target rate with among wide receivers with at least 200 routes run. We're behind the likes of Josh Downs, Khalil Shakir, Chris Godwin. 16th is not bad. It's actually a pretty standard target rate, and it's actually exactly the same target rate he had in 2022. In 2022, he was being targeted on 25.2% of his routes run. This year, it's 25.3%. But because this is now a run-first offense, the lower volume, the math of that means that his targets per game have dropped from 8.5 on the exact same target rate to 6.5 this year in 2024. So on a per-play basis over the course of the season, he's still getting the ball about the same rate. But I think there are a few things. One is you could think that if we're going to pass it less, in theory, we could funnel the ball more to A.J. Brown. I think that's fair.
Yes.
I also think the thing that's going on here, to some degree, yesterday's game specifically, his lowest target rate of the season by a wide margin, and his second lowest target rate as an Eagle in any game, just about 15%. I do think there's also the last couple games, he has not been targeted downfield by Jalen Hurts. So in 2022, he had 3 games among his 17 games in which he didn't have a target of at least 20 air yards downfield. Last year, and that only happened in 1 game of the 16 that he played, and it's happened 3 of the last 4 weeks for the Eagles. So I think this is something that has been bubbling a little bit, that he's not getting the ball. And I think the crux of the issue to me, we talked about it in the postgame show, that A.J. Brown wants the ball, not because he wants the ball. He wants the ball because he knows that him getting the ball is good for the offense. And this is the crux of it to me, okay? Because Saquon Barkley is having the best season for an Eagles running back we have ever seen. He's far and away the best running back in the league. He has been a superstar, and he's averaging 6.1 yards per carry. Guess what A.J. Brown is averaging yards per target? So every time they throw him the ball, whether he catches it or not, how many yards do they gain on average?
You want me to guess?
12.7. So more than double
Yes.
Saquon Barkley. It's the best rate in the league. So,
That's a great stat.
Get him the ball.
That's a great stat. Yeah, absolutely. And I used this analogy on the show yesterday. I used this analogy this comparison on the show with Anthony this morning, which is this isn't baseball where you throw them once, then you have to wait 9 times, right? You can throw them the ball multiple times on the first drive, on the first half. Good things tend to happen. I heard you on the show yesterday say, you talked about his contested catch rate. On that third down before he slammed the helmet, in one-on-one coverage there, and you're scrambling and you throw a high pass to Johnny Wilson, that's a pass that should go to A.J. Brown. That's a pass where you let A.J. Brown make a play on the ball. And part of like the amazing thing when A.J. Brown got here and you started watching him was the plays that he made on the ball. Like he would just throw it up. We think about that Pittsburgh game when Jalen just threw it up. It was a clear out route for A.J. and he makes a play on the ball. And the other thing too is if you think back to our training camp notes, you know the amount of times I would just write in there, slant to AJ, slant to AJ, slant to AJ. Like there's easy buttons in this offense where if you need quick yards, especially times when there's a 5-man rush coming at you, in those cases, there's probably going to be AJ isolated. Get the ball to AJ Brown. And I can say the same thing about DeVonta Smith, but for the sake of this conversation, AJ Brown.
I totally agree, and I do want to get much more into the weeds about Jalen Hurts' performance yesterday with Fran. I do think there's a difference between like the second play of the game, which Fran tweeted about, where A.J. Brown is streaking open because J.C. Horn takes the underneath guy or the intermediary guy in the 3-level stretch, where Jalen Hurts is looking right at him and chooses not to throw the ball. That is a bigger concern to me than even the one where Jalen got upset, where AJ got upset, because that wasn't the design of the play. I do think in that situation, it probably is the right thing to just throw it up to AJ Brown, but at least it wasn't the design of the play. And it looked like there were a couple slants as well where, to your point, he didn't pull the trigger. To me, that's the thing that I would be more concerned about.
And what do you think the reason is that he's not pulling the trigger on it?
I don't know.
So and again, I don't know this to be the case, but my guess is Jalen is hyper focused on not turning the ball over. And
I think if that's the case, I think that is a problem.
Yeah, and to his credit, if you want to frame it that way,
like wouldn't you feel much better about their performance yesterday if it was the same margin? They won by 6 points. They eked out a game by the skin of their teeth, but the offense was prolific passing the ball, but he just happened to have 2 fluky turnovers. Like I would feel better about that.
Fluky turnovers, yes. Yeah, but we think back to everything changed kind of during the bye week. They were 2-2 going into the bye. They just lost to Tampa. There's all this conversation about the team, and they came back and they went with this run first approach, right? That's been the story since the bye. Going into the bye and during the bye, that week after, what was the big conversation piece? Cutting down turnovers. That you kept hearing it. Turnover differential, cutting down turnovers. It was like the number one thing they were focusing on going into the bye. And if you look at Jalen since the bye, he hasn't been throwing the ball to the other team. And I had a line in my story today that Jalen's problem right now is not throwing the ball to the other team. It's throwing the ball to his team. Because he's actually, and Nick brought up in that MVP, I don't want to call it a rant, on that MVP pitch about Jalen Hurts last week. Look at his passer rating. And this was another game where it was a good passer rating because he threw touchdowns and he didn't throw he didn't throw interceptions. But I think there's more to this than this is where the passer ratings is misleading because he's not turning the ball over. He's not putting the ball in harm's way. But sometimes when you put the ball in harm's way, you know what happens? Your guy catches it too.
Right. Especially when you have A.J. Brown, as you said. And I do think somebody made a good point in the Discord. We probably didn't make a big enough deal in the postgame show. I mean, 2 red zone touchdown passes for Jalen Hurts. It's a nice thing to see. Yeah. That was the one bit of encouraging stuff.
Both good plays too.
Yeah. No, you wonder why they can't do that a little bit more often. But much more to come here after this break. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide, and they live stream 780,000 events each year. With early payout offers across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB, Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, and today Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. Are you going to make like Juan Soto money? Probably not, but not if you don't try. That's what that guy in Kentucky was doing, right?
Correct.
Scraping by with the skin of his teeth. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. What's the Monday night game tonight, Zach?
The Monday night game tonight is
Cowboys, Bengals.
Cowboys. That's right. I did know that. Joe Burrow playing.
Jake Ferguson against Mike Gesicki. That was my choice for who to play
at
tight end this week. I went with one in each. Had two leagues and went with one in each.
Okay, splitting the difference.
I'm going to win both games. So actually, the other ones is I'm going to need Jake Ferguson to hold up his end of the bargain tonight. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Maybe I can make enough money to get myself some cough medicine. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
We all know that it's hard to win without proper coaching. If you have kids, TrueMark Financial Credit Union has the ultimate playbook for teaching financial responsibility with a free Greenlight account. The Greenlight app is changing the game. It's helping kids and teens learn how to earn, save, and spend wisely. This is speaking my language here. They can set up savings goals, track their spending, and even get an allowance. All right there in the Greenlight app. And here's the really cool part. Each kid gets their own debit card so they can make purchases and learn real-world money skills while you stay in control from your phone. This is an awesome program. Make sure you're creating these accounts. You get the peace of mind, and they get the freedom to make smart decisions with their money. This is better than a piggy bank. It's like coaching your kid. It's like coaching their kid through their very own financial game. And for TrueMark Financial members, it's free. With the holidays right around the corner, now is the perfect time to introduce your kids to Greenlight. Get signed up today. Visit TrueMark.com/Greenlight for more information. That's a program I can get behind. I like that.
Okay.
Reed will have a free Greenlight account.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Technology, baby.
I love it.
Okay. I don't want to get too into the Kellen Moore of it because I want to have a nice fleshed out discussion with Fran about that tomorrow. I'm like, is there hope for the passing game? What could they be doing better schematically?
I thought you were about to say you wanted a fleshed out conversation with Kellen Moore about that tomorrow. Yeah. I was like, good luck with that.
Yeah, I don't think that's good. I'm not. I mean, I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb. Okay. Anything else on the A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith front?
Yeah, I just want to reinforce what you said, which is A.J. Brown is speaking up and taking this approach because he believes, and I think he's right. This is what's best for the team. I don't think this is like A.J. Brown wanting his numbers. I said it on Anthony's show. I think a big part of the way the Eagles have been able to play offense this year is the fact that they signed A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith to those contracts. If A.J. Brown was playing for a contract right now, if DeVonta Smith was playing for a contract right now, it might be a different conversation. I think A.J.'s response is because he knows what this offense needs to be. He knows what this offense should be, and they're not there right now. So I think that it's easy to kind of see someone say something honestly and say, oh, the team's, that he's being a distraction. He shouldn't say that. No, I like when an adult's an adult and can have like a real honest reaction to something and we can cover it and talk about it with the proper context and understanding, and it's not this like black and white thing where you're either selfish or unselfish. I don't think it's that. I think it's you're trying to do what's best to win games.
What did you make of Jalen's press conference about it? Reading back, it was a little bit It felt a little bit more past the Bucky than it seemed live.
Yeah, there was a part there where he was like, I can only do what's called, something of that nature. That is a little past the Bucky. I haven't heard that expression, but I like that. Past the Bucky. I also thought I thought Jalen wasn't running away from the fact that the offense needs that the passing game needs to be better. I thought
the decision to take that sack on the busted RPO is like a huge concern to me.
Yeah, because and I appreciate his honesty with the explanation. The math doesn't add up there, right? You would rather the 5-yard penalty.
He did the exact same thing last week. He did it right, and they didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So what's the coaching point?
You would rather the 5-yard penalty there,
right?
Right.
In case you didn't see it, it's a busted RPO. Mm-hmm. He's 9 yards in the backfield, and he voluntarily takes the sack while out of the pocket, so he could have thrown the ball away. And so, in effect, he is taking 2nd and 19 over what would have been a 5-yard penalty and re-snapping the ball at 1st and 15.
Exactly. And so that's the situational awareness there that you need. I thought the best line that he had was essentially when he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, "It might not get you now, but it's going to get you." Right? Because that's exactly what we're talking about. That's kind of the theme of this conversation is that what you might get away with now, you won't get away with later. And once it gets you, and you don't want it to come up at an inopportune time. And AJ Brown said something similar. I thought I'm mystified by this concept of not being on the same page, and it's why I asked Jalen, is it too late to be having this conversation? Because I get you have a new offense, but you, DeVonta, and AJ have been playing together for 3 years. There shouldn't be this need for synchronization, this need to be on the same page.
Totally.
And when DeVonta was talking about it, he's like, every game calls for something different. But no, the fact that all of them were saying that, it to me is a little alarming, because that's not a conversation you should have in December. That's a conversation you should have in August.
All right. Do you want to talk about the Nick Sirianni punting decision? Very polarizing.
Yeah. Let's have that conversation.
Okay.
You were fired up on the show about it.
I was fired up. People were fired up in response. That's okay.
That's cool.
People
Make sure you're leaving comments.
Have their opinions and be wrong. That's fine.
Yeah. Please leave all those comments on YouTube. I read all of them. Yeah, I think it's cool that you're that passionate about the show.
Now, let's talk about it in sort of basic terms to start, and then I want to go back through the decisions that Nick Sirianni has made during his tenure in similar situations. Okay, so it's 4th and 8 from the 36 with 3:05 left, and you're up 6 points. I think the way that Jimmy Kemsky phrased it is smart. There's only one of the 3 choices where you are definitely giving the other team the ball with a chance to go win the game, and that is to punt the ball away.
Yes.
Even if you are putting them on the 1-yard line. If you kick a field goal, the numbers say it's like a 65% shot. If you're hearing from the sideline that they don't think that Jake Elliott can make this kick, that's a different story. That's fair. But if he makes the kick, you're up by 9 points, and the game is basically over. And if you go for it, there's a less chance of converting than the field goal, but there's a chance that you get the first down, and the game is close to over, but not as definitively over as the field goal would be. Obviously, if you fail on either of those two things, they have the ball closer to the end zone with a chance to go take the lead. But guess what? In that case, you're trusting your defense. I hate the framing of he trusted his defense, because if the defense is not good enough that they need to have to go 99 yards, then you don't trust your defense. Like, if you really trust your defense, you can put them in a tough situation and expect them to still come out and win. This 75-year-old orthodoxy of, well, you got to punt there, put them back in the 1. It's wrong mathematically, and it's wrong football-wise. Now, I think it's fair to say that the reason Nick Sirianni did this is because of Jake Elliott. Because there have been a few times over the years, the last 4 seasons, where he has had somewhat similar situations and has chosen to kick the field goal. So let's go through
Let's do this. I like this. I was going to look this up. I'm glad you did.
2021 versus Carolina. It is 4th and 4
Trying to think of that game. Okay.
From the 39.
Yeah.
With 5:30 left, and they're up 5 points. So you're going up from up 5 to up 8. They did not kick a field goal. So they're the 39, so it's a little bit further back.
This is in Carolina.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
They go for it and don't get it. They end up winning the game anyway, but that was the decision. They did not punt there. 2022 against Detroit. These are a little bit tougher because fourth and one's different, right?
Fourth and one's different.
I'm going to throw out the fourth and ones.
Yeah,
let's take out the fourth and ones. At Washington, 2022, 4th and 4 from the 39, 1:41 left. They're up 24-8, so it's already a 16-point spread. The stakes are a little bit lower. They go for it. They get it. Green Bay, 2022.
Okay.
This is one of the closer comparisons. 4th and 3 from the 36. They're up 7 points with 2:21 left. They opt from 3 yards away to kick a 54-yard field goal and make it. So that's good.
That's a home game.
That's a home game.
A similar time of year. I don't know what the wind was that game, but similar time of year at home.
Yeah, there's another one from Green Bay, but it's 4th and 2. It's earlier in the game. We'll throw that one out too. I think one of the better comparisons is New England. Remember New England first game of the season last year, also nasty weather, if you remember correctly.
Yep. Poor Tom Brady.
5:38 left. They're up 22-14, 8 points. So a field goal is going to win you the game. 4th and 3 from the 33. They kick a 51-yard field goal and make it, and then end up going to win the game. Later, there's a 4th and 2 with 2 minutes left that they go for and don't get it. And then the last one, and maybe this is the one that is sticking in Nick Sirianni's ear or mind, Jacksonville from this season. 4th and 4 from the 39 with 2:16 left. They're up 5 points, so you're going from 5 to 8. They go for a 57-yard field goal, and Jake Elliott obviously misses it. He's 0 for 5 from 50-plus this season. So, guess what? Nick Sirianni has been coaching this team for 4 seasons. How many times in the fourth quarter, Zach, do you think he's punted from opponent territory in the fourth quarter before this game?
0.
3, but 2 of them were from the 49, and none of them were in field goal range. So he has never punted in field goal range in the fourth quarter of a game. So
I love this. This is... I do think the history is relevant here.
So whether you think it was the right move or not, and obviously he's taking different things into account. Maybe he is overvaluing the defense.
That's what I think it is.
Maybe he's overvaluing the Jake Elliott thing. Maybe he's overvaluing last week's ability to pin them down at the 1. But this is a decision he has not made before. And I think the honest answer has to be lack of faith in Jake Elliott.
Yeah, I mean, look, that can't not be a factor, but I think he's overvaluing last week. And I think he's like, it's the blackjack player who sticks on 16 against the 10 and then ends up winning the hand and is like, look, it worked that time. That was a good strategy here, right? So I think that's what I think happened. He was so proud about the way last week worked. And I don't want to say to his credit, but the same thing happened here. They pinned them back. And I will say that to the point that they almost lost this game if Xavier Legette makes that catch, they almost win this game like easily if they hold on to Bryce Young when they have him back there. So both work. But I agree with the central premise that you started with here and that Jimmy Kempski outlined, that there's only one way to definitely ensure that they get the ball back with a chance to go ahead. And that is by punting. And this is the same conversation we had when we talked about kicking the field goal from going from 3 to 6, right? Is that like what you're trying to do is you're trying to maximize your ability to win the game. Yeah. And to me, the way to maximize your ability to win the game is to kick the field goal. Now, again, I'm not privy to what their internal line was, where they said you have to get to this line. But I do know that in the past, that's a field goal that they would have kicked. Even now, it didn't seem overly windy when I think
they're overstating the wind.
Yeah, but no, they need a united front on.
He had missed a kick in that direction already. So had Carolina, right?
I thought he missed his kick in the other
direction.
Yeah, I think he missed both his kicks south. And that one would have been north.
Wasn't the extra point in that direction that then got
because that's fourth. That was the fourth quarter, the extra point, right?
Yeah, I think situation agnostic. Just I don't know who's playing. I don't know what their team is like. What should you do? You should kick the field goal. That's what the fourth down bot says, and it's not even a lean. It's a clear kick the field goal situation. Obviously, that makes sense. You're going from 6 to 9. You're making it a 2-possession game. I also think, and I said this on the postgame show, the like psychology of it from a Nick Sirianni standpoint. If you kick the field goal and Jake Elliott makes it, like, what a great story. You proved that you still believe in your guy, and he got it done when it mattered most.
Sure.
And even if he misses it, you still prove that you believe in your guy. I believe in Jake. I believe Jake's gonna make that kick. And if you miss it, I mean, if you really want to get down to it, they're gonna have if they score a touchdown, it's probably gonna happen sooner, and you're gonna get the ball back again.
Yeah. Now, to the example you gave about how it shows confidence in your kicker, the game that put Jake Elliott on the map, the week 4 game against the week 3 game against the Giants back in 2017. Jake Elliott missed kicks that he should have made. Now these were inside 50.
Yeah.
And we've all seen the clip of Jason Peters saying,
"No more misses, bro.
No more misses, bro." And then he goes on, he kicks 2 clutch field goals, and he has this confidence for the rest of the way there.
Amen.
So yeah, that's a good point.
And what's worse, like psychologically for Elliott, if he gets called on and misses again, or if he doesn't even get called on in the first place?
Sure.
I mean, 53. That's not a 60-yarder we're talking about. Like,
yeah. So no, I didn't think you were unreasonable in your points on the postgame show. I thought it might have been overstated within the context of the game. Like I thought that the passing game was probably the bigger part of it than
that is absolutely true.
Than that decision. But I do think that the way you outlined it was absolutely correct, and it's also important because every situation is part of a historical database, if you will, for Nick Sirianni. And what you're looking for is outliers like this was, and when it happens on a day when Jake Elliott misses a field goal that made him 0 for 5, like you mentioned, from beyond 50, misses an extra point, it's reasonable to deduce in that situation that he has. At least his confidence in Jake Elliott has eroded, and this is relevant in a week after that Ravens game last week's a lot different. If Justin Tucker, one of the most money kickers in recent NFL history, hits field goals and an extra point that he should have hit. Yeah. And
now Riley, by the way, is wrong. He's saying if he had kicked the field goal and missed it, I would be crucifying Nick. That is not true. I mean, go to the watch along. Fran and I are talking about it in real time. I'm a lot of things, but I'm consistent on this. That's wrong. Go ahead.
I don't want to speak for Jimmy. When Jimmy and I were talking outside the locker room, though, he brought up the idea of going for it. Would you have considered going for it there, or do you think 4th and 8?
If they had told me on the sideline that Jake has no chance of making this field goal, I would have thought about it.
Yeah.
In that situation, given how badly the offense was playing, then I could be convinced to punt.
Do you like
so
that?
This is the thing. We don't have all the information. If they really were on the sideline saying, or if Jake Elliott is nursing some kind of injury that we don't know about.
Yeah.
Like, that's a possibility, I suppose. Do you think that they're going to bring in a kicker for the practice squad or something like that?
No,
like,
Anthony asked me that today. I don't think so. I think, well, that would surprise me. The message that
if you don't have if you can't trust your kicker, you don't have a kicker.
So I think it's going to be practice, get this right. You might play a more favorable. I don't know what the weather is going to be Sunday against Pittsburgh, but I think this is going to be a week to try to build up Jake Elliott. The way I framed it is he's earned too much equity and he earns too much money for them to make a change right now.
And the macro of it, the big picture is that, I mean, kickers just have volatile seasons. Like,
exactly.
I mean, Jake Elliott had a bad year in 2019, 2020, right?
Yep.
Like this happens to kickers. It's not the biggest deal in the world from a 10,000-foot view. Yeah. Like, I still think he'll probably be a good kicker next year, but this year he hasn't been a good kicker. It's a relatively short sample size, but
that said, though, I mean, I remember
like you talked about Chris Boswell, or somebody was talking about Chris Boswell. Maybe it was the Shield show. How money he's been from 50 plus, but he's had bad years.
Yeah.
Like, these guys just fluctuate.
But I remember vividly being in Baltimore for the post game, in the preseason. When I asked Nick then, "Are you concerned about Jake Elliott?" Because if you remember, he had been inconsistent in training camp. Then he missed kicks he needed to make in that game. And so this is, by the way, this is going back to August here with Jake, where he's been less consistent than he's been in the past.
That's true.
Like, this is not something that just popped up here. This has been – so I'm curious if this has been on their radar throughout the year. If there's – I asked Nick this question 2 weeks ago, which was when you're at a point in your coaching career, when you have enough equity, when these guys build this equity with you, how do you know you're not putting too much weight on what you've seen and not enough weight on what you're seeing now? And I think that's a fascinating conversation with Jake Elliott.
And also, practically, to your point, like, people are like, why is he even still here? He's here because he's got guaranteed money. Like, they're not gonna cut him.
And he's a really good kicker. And if you pick up kicker X off the street, Kansas City is down to their fourth kicker, and he almost missed that chip shot to win the game last night. So it's not I know kickers are relatively fungible, but good kickers are not just available for anyone to sign.
All right, time to take a little break. Back right after this. Help protect yourself from pneumonia.
And whatever Bo has.
Like me. Adults aged 50 and older are now eligible for the vaccine. It was previously 65 and older. The CDC lowered the age recommendation to 50 plus. I'm almost there. Millions of people get pneumonia every year, according to the CDC. It's a respiratory illness, and fall and winter are a time when germs that cause respiratory disease typically spread more in the community. So now is the time to get vaccinated and help yourself stay healthy. Some people who get pneumonia have mild symptoms, but others experience serious complications. The vaccine is one of the best ways to keep yourself healthy. And guess what? It's usually no cost with insurance. Getting vaccinated is easy. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule online at riteaid.com. Unsure of what vaccines you may need? Just ask your pharmacist for a personal recommendation. Stop by your local Rite Aid today. I am the Dread Pilot Roberts.
I have no props or costume changes for this one here. I will say CJAM. I want to tell everyone about CJAM Construction, though, because, look, this is the type of thing where I don't need to dress up for. Family-owned home remodelers specializing in decks, bathrooms, and flooring. Their goal is to help their clients alleviate the challenges and frustration that come with home remodeling. And look, Children's Hospital Philadelphia is something that's near and dear to my heart. There's a giveaway benefiting shop right now, so this is a great cause. November 25th through December 20th, there's an online raffle for a chance to win a Yeti cooler and a Kelly Green Saquon Barkley jersey. All proceeds from this raffle will go toward their Chop Online toy drive. What better way during the holiday season than a present for someone at Chop? Raffle tickets are $10 a piece. There's no limit to the amount a person can donate in one shot. Winners on December 21st. People can enter by going to cjamconstruction.com/toy drive. Be sure to mention PHLY to receive 15% off when you call in 856-329-2933 about your next home project. See their full selection and learn more about the products and warranties on their website, cjamconstruction.com.
All right. Anything on the? Are you worried about the defense at all?
I thought the defense was leakier than they have been.
Yeah.
I think that, like what I said yesterday, I got to stop saying like I said. Bryce Young, I was real impressed with him.
I was impressed with Bryce Young too.
I thought he showed a lot, especially, he could have had.
We've seen, I've said this before, we've seen a lot of really bad quarterbacks come through here the past 3 seasons. Bryce Young is solid.
He almost led a 97-yard.
It's a great story.
He almost led a 97-yard game-winning touchdown drive against the defense that was number 1 in the league in yards, right? So that was with no timeouts, by the way, and 2 really impressive conversions. And had that Leggett ball been caught, it would have been 3 really impressive conversions.
I just want to. Somebody saying the defense gave up 4.8 yards per play. What are we Why are we hand wringing here? I do think that there is something to this game. That was what the Panthers were trying to do.
Yeah,
they were trying to sustain these long drives.
Yep,
and they were playing the game on their terms. That's why I think it's okay to say in this game where there were only 8 possessions that the defense did not play its best. I'm not worried about the defense. I think this, to me, is one of those, you play 17 games, sometimes they're going to have a few more answers for you. But I just think in the context of this game, that's why we're talking about it like they were not as dominant.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers were 7 of 16 on third downs. They were 3 of 5 on fourth downs. You want to see the Eagles better in those situations, but Nick Sirianni, so that stands out there. I thought Cooper DeJean probably had his worst game since he entered the starting lineup. A lot of that had to do with Adam Thielen. I thought Adam Thielen played a good game. Clearly, he was the third down guy. You referenced that in the show that Bryce Young was turning to. So yeah, I'm not concerned about the defense. I mean, they were so good against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
Well, and also, Fran was right to tell us they probably weren't as good as they looked on the box score against the Ravens because they were just plays that Lamar Jackson missed, right? So it wasn't like the most dominant performance of all time. They're playing very well right now. I do think that the only thing that I am actually concerned about is just the snaps for the defensive linemen. I do think that Jalen Carter was not quite as effective at the end of this game as he was at the beginning of it. If something is going to turn them from an elite defense to just an above average defense, that's what I am concerned about.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you have one sack and it's from your linebacker in a game when, Bryce Young threw the ball 34 times, ran the ball 7 times. I think that there were clearly opportunities. I thought the pass rush was getting there, but you got to bring down the quarterback. And I said on the pregame show that one of the things I'm really watching for in the back in these last 5 games is the way these edge rushers play. And I'm curious to see if they're going to get more pass rushing juice down the stretch here.
All right. You ready for your big moment?
Yeah. One last thing though, because I am curious to see. I thought
you were bringing out. I thought you were busting out a prop.
Oh no! I want water before.
Did you think that, Julia? I thought he had something.
I'm curious here because there is a lot of Saquon Barkley conversation.
Yeah,
nationally.
It's wild that we haven't even talked about.
He is on pace to break Eric Dickerson's record, and when we can use on pace comfortably when there's only 4 games remaining, right? He's the last player to have this many yards through 13 games in a season is Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson had 2,000. That was 2009. Chris Johnson had 2,000 yards. But this is my question for you: is there is a very conceivable case or very realistic possibility that the Eagles aren't playing for something in week 17. That there's 2 games left.
2 games left.
There's 2 games left. They have the 2 seed almost mathematically locked down.
Yeah.
The Lions are kind of entrenched in there in the 1 seed, and there's no one in another division who's pushing you for the 2 seed. In that case, what's Nick Sirianni's approach? And then the second question here is, can you imagine the theater of week 18 against the New York Giants if Saquon Barkley is going for the rushing record?
Yeah. I think if there's 1 game left, even if it's the Giants, I think they're going to sit him. And I think they should sit him. I mean, it's not about the record. It's about the Super Bowl, right? If there's 2 games left, I could see them playing him a half or something like that. But I think you are probably right that the way things are setting up, I would be surprised if he's going to get a real shot at it in all 17 games. What about you?
Yeah, I think that their focus is going to be on the playoffs, and I think Saquon's going to say as much there. But from a storyline perspective, man, I would love to see him need like 120 yards going into Week 18 against the Giants. And like, can you imagine that again? With Joe Shane and John Mara.
I think it'd be better if he needed like, let's say he needed 74 yards.
Okay.
So they get the kickoff at the 25, right?
Okay.
And we know that like the Giants team likes Saquon, the players.
The kickoff's at 30. So
it's 30. Okay, so he needs 69 yards to break the record. So the first handoff goes to Saquon Barkley, and they pull a Strahan. They just part the seas and let him run to the end zone. Run, go get that record, Saquon, and go take your rest, buddy.
And then look up and say, you let this guy go.
Yeah. And the neighbor says, I did buy the plane.
That would be interesting. So that's just something to keep in to keep in mind here because nationally Saquon's a huge story and rightfully so. He's on pace to do something that's never been done. So we'll monitor that.
And a lot of people are already asking for the Cooper DeJean celebration from you. I have it on background that you have done the Cooper DeJean celebration.
Yeah. Well, Reed said to me, well, I saw him this morning. He was asleep when I got home. But I saw him this morning, and he said, why didn't you do the celebration? And I said, Reed, I said, I don't want that on camera. And then he did it.
Why? Why don't you want it on camera?
Because I think there actually might be more meanings to it than this calm down meaning. I think there actually might be.
But what's wrong with that?
I just don't need. I don't need to put that out there. I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, why am I mimicking their celebration?
It's a fun thing to do.
I don't know. Okay. All right. Teach their own.
Okay.
Teach their own. People are gonna say I'm not fun. That's fine. I do want to say thank you to a lot of people here.
Okay, now I want to know behind the scenes here of how much you first of all, how long did this take you? And second of all, how worried are you that you've overlooked people?
I've definitely and I want to tell people ahead of time. I have 109 names here. Okay? If I overlooked you, please respond. I went through Twitter mentions. I went through DMs. I went through Blue Sky mentions. I went through Instagram DMs, and I went through emails. But particularly on Twitter, there's a lot of mentions.
Doesn't get shown,
you have to scroll through, and you have all the stuff from the game, and you have all the stuff from the weekend, and you have to go all the way back to last week. So there's a lot of people here, but I got to say two things here for some commentary. First off, and I said this yesterday, this is awesome. This is so heartwarming to see. Second, my
if people are tuning in for the first time, what is this?
This is everyone's Spotify Wraps. I said
or competing apps.
Or competing apps. If we were number one, send it over to us, and I will personally thank you. We will personally thank you on this show. That's part of this community that we're really trying to build here. But the DL cool thing here, the funny thing, is seeing the diversity of other shows in there.
Yeah, I think that's fun.
There's a wide spectrum.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's all Eagles. Some people it's like we're their Eagles show, then they have a Sixers, then sometimes it's all PHLY.
Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, there's Carolina Hurricanes. Sometimes people are just interested in the Eagles, and then there's political stuff. Either way.
One guy deleted his number 2.
Yeah,
he didn't want to show us what his number 2 was.
He did not want us to see.
I think it's a musicals podcast.
No, you think
I think he didn't want you to ridicule him.
No, I would not ridicule him. But that's actually been the cool thing to see. I also want to. I have not responded to everyone via email or DM, and so please take this as a response. I'll get back to you there. But it is really touching and heartwarming, and I appreciate it.
I agree.
Before I read this, you want to tell everyone where they can find us?
Yeah, if you are dying to see your name or hear your name read, check it out on allphly.com. And we thank you for watching on that old terrestrial television.
So here you go. And before I do this, I apologize for pronunciations for some of you because there's no pronunciation guide. Also, if you created a username that did not have a name, and this is meant to make me say something that I probably will regret having on air, so be it, because I still want to say thank you to you.
Okay.
So without further ado, thank you to Michael Moreno.
Sexy.
One deep. Don't let me. Travis McKee.
Handsome.
Frank Mahalik.
Beautiful.
Matthew Davi. Gam Cavaliero. Kevin Walls. Ryan Gagnabin. Will Howen. Caleb Grossman. Who cares? In parentheses, Oily Hups. Brian.
Oily Hups?
Yes. Oily _Hups. Brian. Smart. Jack Royer.
Genius.
White Noise Sports. Christopher Voorhees with cherries as the O's.
Jeffrey Lurie.
No. Dominic Gugliotta.
Tom Gugliotta?
Sebastian G. from Montreal.
Sebastian Grosjean, the former tennis player.
Gianluca Philly. Kevin Hewitt. Leo Few.
Kevin Hewitt, you know what happened to him on the set?
What?
Well, Mr. Belvedere.
Leo.
Sat on his little Belvedere at a stop production.
Yeah. Leo Few. But Holly Padmore from UK. Luke Watson from UK.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Luke Watson.
John Wick.
John
Bry Vance, Matt Mills, Art Vandelay, Kelsey's Beard, Finley Jones, Harry Cantor, Dietz.
What's a Harry Cantor?
I don't know. Dietz Newtonson.
And Watson.
Juan Pablo Martin Riba. William Hilferty. I Miss Dawkins.
This is like it's like a graduation.
Yeah. Phil Matthews.
McCracken.
Andrew Amaro. Mike Wall. Joe
Not your wall.
Demores.
Not our wall. Mike Wall.
In case Joe didn't hear it, Joe Demores. Devin Call. Scott Ehertz.
Ow.
Sam Khalifa. Joey Machete. Brandon Ramsey. Joe Kalatech. Garrett Hopkins. Noah Rosenstein.
Oh, that's the Epstein podcast that he listens to.
Noah Rosenstein. Spiff. Mike Thomas.
Former NFL wide receiver.
Connor. Nick Intellisano.
Ooh, very interesanto.
A man named Ben.
Dover.
Goose. Joey B. Birds. Pooh Ragu.
Pooh Ragu.
Brian,
how do you do?
Brian Humensky. Jeff Leopard.
Whoa, spotty.
Jeff W.L. Matt DeLong.
Better than Matt DeShort.
DS6. That's David Byron. Sid Steinberg. Eric Blake Archer. Zach. This is tweets by Zach. Jake Tiger.
Wow, we got a leopard and a tiger.
Alex Beard Wonder. Macho Sasquatcho. Ash Hill, also from the UK. Just here for the memes. Steve Barnes from Derby, England.
Steve Barnes from Derby, England.
Ryan. Alex Borowick. Gabapi. He's a process truster.
Gabapi.
Samir. Dr. King Bun.
Love
Pat
those
Burnett,
buns.
who's in the top 1% of sports podcast listeners.
Ooh.
The Bryans share. DS.
What do they share?
Lucas. James Stelzer from Australia. Gregory Hedgey.
Good
Nick
Arvo, James.
Botman.
I believe that's Bootman.
Bootman. Is it?
I don't know.
Okay, it's B-O-D-T.
Oh, that's a D. I thought it was an O.
No, it's D. Berg. Garrett Fabris. Marvin.
Pooh Ragu.
I already mentioned him. Marvin Obhammer. His Ernest 13. Brody's World from Canada.
Howie Roseman.
No, Howie's not on here. Hey, Jose Gate-tin. Funboy 59.
I mean, how about 10 more, fun boy? Let's have some real fun.
Alex Louderbeck. Angelo Bellotti or Bellotti. Daniel Zeinstein.
Oh, he gave you a pronunciation guide.
Oh, sorry, Daniel.
I believe it's Zinstein.
Zinstein. Thank you. You see, this is why I need Bo here. Lyle. D. Blancho.
Wait a second. There could be any Lyle. It's Lyle J.
Lyle J. D. Blancho.
Lyle love it.
Big Willie Stiles. Justin Snyder. Kyle Stomberg. Chris Tomlinson. Tyler. Missing Barsoom. Ryan Moon.
Is it Ryan Moon or Moon Ryan?
Dylan J. Williams. Asher.
Where are you getting the
Or
ER?
I'm sorry, Ash. Justin. Warren Harding.
Warren G. Harding.
This is Zach Siskind. I wrote X. Zach Siskind. Jake M. Simon.
Jake Matumbo.
Simon Von Nienda. Tom, who's Emily's boyfriend.
Whoa.
No, this is a different Emily.
This is how we find out?
No,
Tom?
No, this is Emily. She's really nice. I sent her a book. She bought a book out. She lives in England. I sent the book to England. So she sent me her boyfriend's Spotify rap. Max Karp, Alex Arnold, Corey Fader, and Nick S. Who Nick S. We're technically not number first with Nick. What? He has a lot of shield in him, but we'll let it slide because he's a good friend of the show, Nick S.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
What do you can't break the rules. You can't just be lenient for Nick S.
Nick S texted me personally. He mentioned,
yeah, I got a note from Nick S too. We can't be shouting him out. He doesn't get to join the rest of the number ones.
Yeah, no,
this is outrageous.
No, I appreciate Nick S. So shout out to Nick S.
That's outrageous.
So to all of you, from all of us here, the PHLY Eagles show,
except for Nick S.
Thank you so much, truly. I mean this.
Let's just say this, Nick S. You're no Pooh Ragu.
No, I mean this sincerely. I mean this sincerely. Is that I love the right. We all know that. I love the feeling of a good article, but simply writing doesn't provide the sense of community that the show has. And to see this, and the fact that I went through this today, and there's 109 names, and there's probably more names that I missed, and there's more names that didn't send it to us. The cool, and seeing everyone out when we do these events and I do these book signings, it's the most rewarding part of the show is knowing the role we have in all of your lives, and that you join us to have fun. So this is awesome. I appreciate it.
A couple super chats. Chris Manera says, Jalen seems to have random peaks and valleys. Is there a reason you both think that he hasn't been able to be a consistent passer this many years in?
Good question.
I mean, it's tough because 2022,
yeah,
he was consistent, right? For the most part. I do think it's fair to say if you're trying to pull out the variables, this is now his fourth play caller, right? Third different offensive coordinator. Like, he's the constant there. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
I don't either, but something I'll put more thought into. Yeah, there has been a lot of changes within the offense, but you should progress as the years go on. Perhaps he's been dealing with injuries during the offseason. Sometimes that might affect his fundamental work, but no, I'm with you. By the way, one quick Jalen note. I don't know if this is out there or not. It might be nothing to worry about, but just put it on the show just in case. Is that so? In his post-game press conference, he had his hands like this the whole time. Okay, and there was one time when he scratched his head like this, and I saw his left ring finger was wrapped up. Okay, he had it. I don't know if it was
an eagle-eyed reporter.
Yeah,
fantastic.
But then, so I tried this. But then, so then the rest of the press conference, he was just holding his hands like this. So I didn't want to say what's wrong with your finger if there's like nothing wrong with your finger. And so, but then I was waiting for him to move his hands again. He did not move his hands again for the rest of the press conference. And then
did you then go back to watch other press conferences to see if he moves his hands?
I should have done that. No, I've been tied up, going through everyone's name. But then as he was leaving and he stood up, I saw very clearly that his left finger was wrapped up. So
not just like the ring wrapped up, like
no. It was like the length of the finger was wrapped up.
His left hand.
His left hand. Yeah.
Okay.
So just something to keep your eye on.
Oh, breaking news. E. Roses also says, tired of beating around the bush the past 2 years. Jalen is inconsistent. It is what it is. This roster is built to raise the floor when he struggles. I would say that there are probably people in the building who feel that way. I don't think that that's an overarching organizational philosophy. I would give him a little bit more credit than that, but I do think that there are people in the building who are pretty frustrated with the level of performance they're getting from Jalen as a passer. Yeah,
Jalen needs to be more effective as a drop back passer. I thought his scrambles were good yesterday. He's not turning the ball over, as he would say, and he's right. He wins a lot of games. I mentioned Nick has made the playoffs 4 consecutive years. Jalen's made the playoffs 4 consecutive years, but Jalen needs to be better as a passer. I stand by that.
And then one last super chat from Pooh Ragu, who says, Nick S., tell me how my ass tastes.
Did he right now?
No. All right. That'll do it for this wonderful episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Let me echo Zach in thanking all of you who have made us your number one. You are our number one in our hearts as well. Hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. We will talk to you tomorrow. Fran Duffy comes in studio and tells us exactly what to think of Jalen Hurts' performance in this game. Is it fixable? Should we all jump off this 7th floor Better than walking down the stairs again. I'll tell you
We're
that
not
much.
going to jump off the 7th floor. Yeah, but
All right, that'll do it. Thanks everybody for watching and listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.